What's that? Very nice.
Okay. I will call this regular Township Council meeting of January 18th, 2022 to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building on December 22nd, 2021, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on December 28th, 2021, and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27th, 2021. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Would you all join me in the flag salute? Want to lead, Paul?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Karifi?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Here.
Mr. Neglia?
Here.
Mr. Musella?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Also in attendance are Mayor James Barbario, Business Administrator Fred Carr, CFO Juan Uribe, Township Attorney Michael Avery, Township Clerk Colette Madden. We have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings. February 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. Agenda meeting. And February 15th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Regular meeting.
Approval of minutes. Agenda meeting, 11/9/21, and regular meeting, 11/23/21. Motion to approve the minutes by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Abstain.
No, they need to abstain. They were not present at this meeting.
Oh, that's correct. They could have if they read the minutes, but that's fine. So, 2 abstentions and Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, presentations and reports. Mayor?
I have nothing to report right now, except for maybe one thing I should say. I'm gonna be looking into, public information officer. Either I'm gonna hire somebody or I'm gonna do a consultant with regards to that, so we can start pumping out a lot of, stuff that the township is gonna be doing.
Okay. Township Council, we have a presentation tonight on Meatless Mondays by Annika Aurora and Divya Aurora. And that's Mom in the background, right?
I'm gonna do this.
Now, one of you is from Parsippany Hills, and one is from Brookline. You have to, put the mask on, you have to get real close.
Yeah. You can pull it down if you want to talk into it.
Hey, I don't think it's on.
Mic
Is it
on?
on?
I don't
Should
think
be
it's
on.
Just tap on that. No, that's the part you're talking to.
No, it's not on.
There he goes.
Hello? Oh, yeah. Hello,
Hey, Colette's got the magic touch.
Hello, Town Council. My name is Annika Aurora, and I'm a freshman at Parr Hills High School. And my name is Divya Aurora, and I'm a 7th grader at Brookline Middle School. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present to you all today. We're going to
You need to talk right into the microphone.
Our proposal is to bring Meatless Mondays into our community. To better explain meat's connection to the environment, I wanted to start off by explaining what the greenhouse effect is. So the greenhouse effect is basically when greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere absorb heat from the sun. This is good for Earth because it helps make sure we have insulation during the daytime insulation at night, and prevents us from overheating in the daytime. But the problem with this is that there are excess greenhouse gases getting into the atmosphere, which is causing Earth to overheat and is causing many negative environmental impacts. 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases are added to the atmosphere every year. Yes, that's with 9 zeros.
So how does climate change impact us? So sea levels rise, increasing global climates are causing seawater to expand and glaciers to melt, which are causing sea levels to rise. There are extreme weather conditions. Climate change is worsening the frequency, intensity, and impacts of several types of weather events. There's increased precipitation. As temperatures rise and the air becomes warmer, more moisture is evaporated from land and water into the atmosphere. And there's risk to nature. So climate change is affecting the natural habitats and ecosystems of plants and animals. So here are some impacts all around us. So hurricanes, forest fires, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, all things we hear about all the time. So this recent data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration shows weather events that have cost the U.S. more than $1 billion each in 2020 alone. Yes. And this chart shows the weather trends from 1980 to now in New Jersey and how the costs associated with them has increased, showing that there are more and more extreme weather events occurring.
Earlier, we touched upon what the greenhouse effect is and how excess greenhouse gases are causing Earth to overheat. But where are these greenhouse gases coming from? Well, different industries like electricity and heat, food waste, and transportation are contributing to the problem. The industry we are going to be focusing on today is agriculture and land. Zooming into the agriculture industry, different factors like deforestation, soil respiration, fertilization, littering and manure, fires, and livestock are contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions. We are going to be focusing more on livestock. As you can see on this chart, beef is one of the biggest contributors to carbon dioxide emissions throughout the different food groups. We are going to be showing you a video to help better explain beef's connection to the environment.
Thank you to the Wonders of Carol Thomas for supporting me in this video.
Beef, it's what's for dinner. Or, depending on who you ask, it's destroying the planet. This meat is contentious. Lots of people love eating beef, but it also has the biggest environmental impact of nearly any food we eat. So what can we do about it? Per pound, producing beef releases more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere than just about any other meat. That's mostly due to methane, which has about 25 times more global warming impact than the same amount of carbon dioxide. Cows produce a lot of methane. Well, actually, all cattle. Cattle are female cattle who have had babies, while most beef comes from castrated males called steers. I'm using cow to mean four-legged farm animal that moves. Most cow methane comes from their mouths and not, the other end. See, cows have a weird multi-chambered stomach. The first part, called the rumen, microbes break down fibrous plants like grass and give off methane as a byproduct. Today, there are 1.4 billion cows walking around belching methane. They're responsible for nearly a tenth of all human-related emissions. Some of that's from dairy cows, but most of it comes from cows raised for their meat. I don't know if you've ever seen a cow up close, but they're massive. It takes a lot of cows to make that much cow, and a lot of land to make all that cow food. More than a quarter of all land on Earth is devoted to feeding those cows. As a result, beef is one of the top drivers of deforestation, which is mainly happening in tropical forests, some of Earth's most biologically diverse ecosystems. Left to their own devices, trees are carbon-trapping species. They pull CO2 out of the air and transform it into wood, which locks carbon out of the atmosphere for a long time. Cutting down trees means they stop taking in CO2, and as trees break down, their carbon makes its way back into the atmosphere. Having too many cows on a piece of land can also cause the soil to break down and release trapped carbon into the air. Methane emissions, deforestation, and degradation of soil, these are just the big players. Our collective love of meat creates a whole pile of other environmental, climate, and health impacts. So altogether, there's a lot of bad sides to meat. But can we make meat better? One place to start is with all the broken cows. we've been breeding cattle to be more and more efficient in turning their feed into flesh and milk. That helps farmers make more money faster, but has the added benefit of slightly reducing a cow's carbon footprint, because the faster it becomes beef, the less time it spends burping. If your main concern is climate and you want to keep eating beef, then you may want to choose feedlot over grass-fed feed. That's because cows grow faster and reach slaughter weight more quickly on grains, and again, the faster they become beef, the less time they spend burping. Farming grains can feed cows creates emissions too, but the cow's shorter life makes up for those extra greenhouse gases. On the other hand, feedlots come with other environmental and ethical questions too, but that's a whole other conversation. One alternative is passing on to silvopasture, which is basically raising cattle and trees on the same land. The trees pull carbon from the atmosphere, which can help offset some of the methane from the cows. Turns out, trees are pretty good for the planet. Who would have thought? Whatever the cows are eating and wherever they're living, they're still cows and still methane-making machines. So to meaningfully reduce emissions from cattle production, we need fewer cows, and that means less beef. There's no magical technology or farming practice that will have anywhere near as much impact as eating less beef. But before we start a food fight, it's worth noting that in some places, we're already cutting back. Since the 1970s, beef consumption in the U.S. has gone down. Some of this might be due to the fact that we're eating more chicken, which, from a climate perspective, is a helpful switch, since chicken causes way less emissions than beef. We can also replace beef with things that aren't beef, like beans, mushrooms, those fancy techniques everyone is talking about, or like a vegetable. Like most climate issues, what you do as one person may feel pretty small, but collectively, many individual actions together do move the invisible hand of larger change. And if you want to put on your activist hat, you can do things like email your school or office to ask about Meatless Mondays, ask your favorite restaurant if they can make more non-cow options, or be one of those people on Instagram who tells everyone about that really good mushroom burger recipe they have. Seriously, I have a really good mushroom burger recipe. So keep.
Okay, so that's it for the video. But just to kind of recap what that said, we're gonna examine the carbon footprint of a beef burger. So a 1/3 pound burger has a total carbon footprint of 4 pounds, and the whole process involves the use of water and land to produce feed for cattle, and transportation and refrigeration for both cattle and beef. But as shown in the video, a major factor contributing to greenhouse gas emissions is methane being released from cattle. And methane absorbs 25 times more heat than carbon, making it much more deadly for the environment. So a study at Columbia comparing emissions of different non-meat and meat meals shows that, so here's an example of a bacon cheeseburger has a total carbon footprint of around 7.4 kilograms. But then a vegetarian omelet has a total carbon footprint of only 1.7 kilograms. And peanut butter and banana sandwich has a total footprint of around 0.4 kilograms. So we can just see how much more of a negative impact meat meals have.
For sample data, we looked at Meatless Mondays in the Parsippany School District. Assuming there are about 7,200 students and maybe around 1,000 meat lunches were bought each day, from the previous slide, it said that 4 pounds is the carbon footprint of one meat burger. So if everyone had Meatless Mondays instead of those meat lunches, we could save up to 4,000 pounds of carbon every Monday. And based on how many Mondays are in the school year, we could save up to 102,000 pounds of carbon. Putting this more into perspective, 348 miles driven is the amount of emissions we would save if you ate just one less serving of beef every Monday for a year. And another fact is that if the world ate 15% less meat, which is basically participating in Meatless Mondays, it would be like taking 240 million cars off of the road every year.
So Meatless Mondays isn't just some random idea that we came up with, but it's actually something that's been all over the news, and meat's connection to the environment is a well-established fact. So The Economist went as far as to say that beef has a bigger impact on the environment than even the coal industry, and Johns Hopkins is also doing a lot of research in this. So this slide, sorry, it's very wordy, but it just shows all the cities that have already participated in this. So New York City, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, and many others.
I didn't hear the cities just talking there.
There are many celebrities and famous people showing their support towards Meatless Mondays. So if others did it, why can't we? So coming back to our proposal, Town Council and Mayor Barbario, we need your help to bring Meatless Mondays to our community. There's a common misconception that we're asking you to give up meat permanently, but we're really only asking for you to skip it for one day in the week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the informative presentation.
So I just wanted to thank you all on behalf of the girls for giving them this opportunity. They have a packet for you, Mayor.
Thank you.
And hopefully they can bring about some real change in the community with this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. You all received the resume from Nick Camburis, who volunteered to serve on the Municipal Government Transparency Committee, so I will entertain a motion to appoint Nick.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Township Attorney.
No report, Council President, other than to say that I'm being brought up to speed on all the matters going on in Parsippany Township with the help of the administrator and the township clerk.
You've got a steep learning curve to go through.
Yes. Thank you.
Business Administrator.
Sir, I had nothing.
Township Clerk.
No report, thank you.
Township Officers and Committees.
Not at this time.
Some of the committees are beginning to meet. I know the Traffic Advisory Committee has set up its first meeting in a year and a half, so we're moving forward, I guess. Bids. Taken. 12/17/21, Craftsman Farms Log House Kitchen Restoration and Annex Rehabilitation. Bid to be taken. 1/26/22, Pump Station Number 4 Gravity Conversion Project. And February 3rd, 22, Traffic Signal Maintenance for Littleton Road and Rita Drive, Beechwood Road, and Jefferson Road and Smith Road. Now I'll entertain a motion to open to the public.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is open to the public to speak on any matter.
Come forward, sign in, state your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, good evening. My name's Matt Segrist, Green Superintendent of the Knoll Country Club. I'm actually here tonight just to more or less defend the Knoll. Again, read an article the other day about how the Knoll is dysfunctional. What I need to say is it's not the Knoll that's dysfunctional, it's the past administrations that are dysfunctional. All right? I mean, you got a good group of guys up there that are working their butts off, been trying to make the golf course, as good as they can be. I think we're getting a bad rap for that. The other thing too is, just so everybody knows, I've had 5 general managers in an 8-year span. 5. Three of them were in a 1-year span. All right, so we don't know whether we're coming or going half the times at that place. So I don't know if the town knows or what they don't know, but I'm here to kind of clarify that, and hopefully the town, council, everybody does the right thing. And what I mean by that is, we got good people up there. Got Mike Walk, John McCarthy, Mike Vendola, Jerry Seck. Jerry Seck there 40 years. 40 years. How nobody is asking that man and Michael Vendola, me 32 years, of how that place should be run. Instead, I've had a general manager that was a cop. I had one that was a bartender. I've had one that was a tailor. Can we do the right thing, please? I mean, we did, number three in the state of New Jersey for public courses. There's only one thing in that article, that dysfunctional article that somebody wrote, that was right. You people don't know what you have in the Knoll. It's a beautiful facility. It can be so much better. 54th in the country as far as public courses. I don't know what we're doing. Problem that I have is, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. I mean, again, if you guys want to do the right thing, put John McCarthy in. Put somebody in that knows golf. I mean, we've had, like I said, I'm tired of listening to people that do not know what's best for the Knoll Country Club. We would gladly sit down with people. I'll do it on my own time, to sit there and tell you what we should do. Seriously. I mean, here's a perfect example of administration doing stuff that they want to do. This is what the Knoll was told that they have to do, get CDL licenses. I've been there 32 years. There's people there that have been 40 years. We've never, ever had to get our CDL licenses. Why? We do not drive CDL equipment. What you've done to us is people will not get a job there because they have to get a CDL license. Why? You don't make the sanitation, get pesticide licenses or fertilizing licenses. That doesn't make sense. We're pushing CDL licenses when they should be pushing fertilizing licenses and pesticide licenses. That's what should be pushed. Again, you have the wrong people making decisions, and it's not good. The golf course will not go through another year of not having food and beverage. This is sad. We can't book outings. Can't people get together and figure this out? I mean, I got to be honest with you. It's, again, you got a good group of guys up there that work their butts off. Good pro shop, good grounds crew. And again, I've been there 32 years. I went to college when I was 47 for this place. I love it. I grew up in Parsippany. Can we do the right thing, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
If I can add, Matt, with regards to the Knoll Country Club, that's one thing I prided myself on. 8 years when I was mayor prior to those 8 years, and I'm going to definitely delve into this, and we're going to fix it. I'm hearing a lot of, not from people outside of town, saying that I can't even bring my guests there, I can't bring nobody there and I know at one point we were #1 municipal golf course back many years ago under my term. But that's one of my goals, to straighten out the Knoll Country Club, get the caterer back, start bringing in the revenues to the township, because we can't continue to lose revenues in our utilities. So I'm definitely going to work very hard on that.
Mayor, if I may, I've known Matt for 45 years, and I know he and his people are true assets. I think he brings up a good idea, if you'd be open to having him and some of these other people, this way you could get some insight on what's going on there.
Yes,
I think that's a great idea.
It is a good idea.
So,
thank you, Matt.
thank you.
Nick Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. I have a different take on the Knoll. The Knoll is 335.58 acres, and I'd have to double check. I'm not sure if that includes the woods that surround it, the green acres, river sensitive. But I couldn't get an answer from the council, but I finally got an answer from the river-friendly people. Mr. Doug Dombrowski is in touch with them, and supposedly they're going to be going forward in this river-friendly golf, which is very ecologically conscious. It has to do not only with golf, but landscaping, treating different plants. Now, I've noticed that they use Roundup up there. They use it to enhance the lawn. What they should be using it for is to get rid of some of these invasive plants they have up there. There's a lot of barberry. They have enough work crew. They have the parks and forestry that come there. They have the machinery. They can cut that back, and it looks like you could even pull it up. And they could maybe even try to put mountain laurel, rhododendron, beautify the place back with indigenous plants. This is a time-invested thing that will take time, and it is a public utility. We may be able to get people in the town involved that want to enhance that landscape. And if you look, it's a groundwater recharge. It's the largest open space green acres that we have in Parsippany. And to move into the river friendly and trying to build on that would be even more spectacular for a golf course. You come into the Knoll, hey, it's not just golf, we care about the environment. Carry in, carry out. Me and Ken Dolsky went up there one time, we had a meeting with Mr. Osner, and we had different suggestions. But I was treated like I was trying to tell the guy how to do his job. That wasn't what I was trying to do. I was trying to make suggestions how to make this a better landscape for everybody in Parsippany. And like I said, it is a public utility. And the Knoll Golf Committee, why don't they open up to a meeting to talk about this river-friendly, where it can go, where it can take the golf course to a more ecologically sound and considerate, and invest in a labor force, not only cutting down branches and stuff like that. Let's get rid of some of these plants that don't belong there and make America America again. Put something in America that belongs there that probably used to be there at one time. It can be done because it's not a giant landscape, and you do have quite a workforce that's already involved with it. They just need the right direction. So I'm glad, and hopefully, because Mr. Dombrowski is not the mayor or council member, so I hope Mr. Dombrowski is doing this in behalf of and the mayor and the council. And not for anything, but meatless Mondays, I remember meatless Fridays, so we got 2 days a week. So I don't know whatever happened to the Catholics, but,
We're here.
you know.
Still do it.
I used to eat Spam on Monday, and,
It's for Lent.
Yeah.
That's for Lent.
yeah, what, no, it was,
Meatless Fridays during Lent and Good Friday.
but it was, if you're a good Catholic, every Friday.
It was, every single Friday.
It
So,
was every Friday, yes.
all right, so,
The Catholics are still here.
are they? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I used to be one. I don't know whether I still am or not. Anyway, please consider what I said about the Knoll and open up a committee meeting. Let's sit down again and have a conversation.
Well, the pandemic has held
Are
a
you
lot of
done,
it
Nick?
up, but
Yeah, but I exhausted my 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
All right, okay. All right, take care.
thank you. Committees are beginning to meet again.
Inside.
Says inside a big room.
Oh, yeah, there's a chair on the tree.
Bob Venezia, 102 Brooklawn Drive. At the last regular council meeting, I asked several questions relating to Parsippany's water system. Tonight, I've got 4 more, sorry, but first on the same topic, on the water. First question is, by contract, Jersey City provides Parsippany with 100 million gallons of water annually, which is supposed to function as a backup reserve in case an emergency occurs in our water system. How much do we pay Jersey City annually for this contract? Second question, currently Parsippany uses the entire 100 million gallon backup reserve for normal daily usage, so that we don't exceed the DEP limits imposed on our water system. So it really appears that we do not currently have an emergency reserve if a catastrophe to our water system should occur. Am I correct in this? Three, besides the 100 million gallon emergency reserve contract, Parsippany purchases additional water from Jersey City so that we do not exceed the DEP limits. What's the annual cost of this additional water? And the last one is, several months ago, a large number of Lake Parsippany residents appeared at a council meeting to bring up the issue of being forced to pay an assessment to maintain the lake, even though they didn't use it. Some of them suggested that the problem could be solved if the town took over the maintenance costs along with ownership of the property. If this scenario came to pass, could the water in Lake Parsippany be integrated into Parsippany's water system? Thank you.
Who's going to answer this?
A couple of your questions. The 100 million gallons that we buy from Jersey City, we have to pay them for that even if we don't use it. So the water department is determined to use all 100 million gallons. Your other question about using Lake Parsippany, first of all, the township does not want to get into, there's 5 lakes in Rainbow Lakes, there's one in Lake Parsippany, there's one up in Intervale. We did not want to get into the lake business. Those are private entities, and we help them when we can so they stay afloat. But we do not want to get into it. And your question about using the water from Lake Parsippany, Parsippany's water is all from underground water.
Except Jersey City.
The Parsippany's water, not counting Jersey City. Jersey City has its own treatment plants to take care of the feces, the deer, the geese, everything else that goes into the reservoir. Okay, they have to clean all that out and purify it before it's drinkable. Parsippany's water is all underground from artesian wells. We don't have to go through that very extensive process to purify our water. Our water is pure. It has high mineral content, but it's pure. And we don't need that kind of effort to clean it. If we used surface water, we'd have to go through the same process that Jersey City goes through. Not going to happen.
Okay. And do you know how much we pay? Do you know how much we pay Jersey City for the additional water beyond the 100 million gallons?
Our RBA could look that up for you.
We'll get those numbers for you.
All right, thank you.
Could you email me the questions so I get them right? Can I get them right?
I'll email them to you.
You have
Well,
my
you
email
only need
address? No, just whatever the question is,
Okay.
so we get it right. You got my address?
Yes.
Take another one. I get paid extra to give these out.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Okay, first of all, Happy New Year. I am Marilyn Marion from 12 Winding Way in Parsippany.
Happy New Year, Marion.
To the mayor and the newly elected council members, congratulations. And good to see different faces, but the other ones were good too. I just want to fill you in on my situation. I, along with two of my neighbors, filed a nuisance complaint against one of our neighbors for feeding the feral cats, which has created a cat colony of approximately 42 cats. According to the TNVR program, if the cats repeatedly are destroying, desecrating, or soiling private property under Section 9134, a nuisance complaint can be filed. We have been to court 3 times. The last time was on December 16th. We appeared along with the neighbors who we filed the complaint about. Judge Scala agreed that this is a terrible problem and advised the neighbors to stop feeding the cats. The next step, according to the laws of the court, is that the judge will issue a summons with a probable cause and a possible fine of $2,500 a day. That's if they don't comply. This is a terrible situation and should have never come to this. Judge Scala could not understand why it got to this and why the Animal Control Department or the town council could not help us. At the last council meeting, once again, we asked if a committee was formed, as was stated at the September council meeting, to change the TNVR program to help neighbors like ourselves. It was agreed that Mr. DePiero would chair the committee. I'm asking if the committee was formed yet. If so, is there any progress? I will also offer my opinion on the fact that this program is not working. If it was, why are there so many complaints about cat colonies all over Parsippany? And is the animal control officer doing their job of enforcing this program? Is there a record kept of how many times the animal control officer checks on the caregivers? In fact, who does the animal control officer report to? We just never were able to get an answer to that question. So, one more thing we asked at other meetings about someone checking on the people who are feeding the cats, because there certainly must be a health issue with as many cats around their house. If they are making a mess on our lawns, God only knows what their lawn must be like, or even their house. So I come here to ask, how is the committee doing?
Mr. Carr, you don't have Heidi's report that she presented last month?
No, sir, I don't have that with me, but we get it.
Yeah, I think to defend the animal control officer and the group that works there, I think we need to defend them. Maybe at the next meeting, we will read her report into the record.
We can do that, sir.
Thank you.
Could I just say one more thing? I understand why you want to defend them, and I like to defend my neighbors also, because yes, they started off with just a few cats, and they're called caregivers according to this ordinance program that's supposed to go on. And if she's supposed to be checking, why didn't she notice that the colony kept growing and growing and growing? Because when it started, there were apparently 10 cats around. She had a couple of her own cats, this lady. Now, you see what the fine is going to be, and I had to go before a judge to do this, which is humiliating to me, to think that I would have my neighbors fined this much money because I didn't get help here. It's embarrassing, and I'm embarrassed. I am so embarrassed because this took place. And where is it now? Here we are. I have been calling animal control for years. Jake just kept saying, oh no, we have this ordinance, it's all taken care of. Here I am now, knowing I've been here every single month, mainly at the agenda and this meeting, and now I hear, and I've been asking for a report. Now I hear there's no report. Well, I don't understand it. Who's slacking on their jobs then? If I can't get an answer, I don't see anybody come in my neighborhood and look at it and look and see that is it really happening, or give us some hope that somebody is listening to us, where nobody's listening to us, and that's the problem. And I'd like to get a call on this. I'd like somebody to call me. I've spoken to Mr. Carr before on the phone, and that's where we tried to get who this officer reports to, and I didn't get an answer from him. However, I would like him to give me a call and let me know what progress is going on. That would really help a little bit. And to send I'll call the health department again to see if my neighbors are being taken care of in their house, because I don't want them living in a dirty house. It may not be the case, but if my lawn looks the way it does and other neighbors' lawn look, then their lawn must look the same, and the health department should be there. So I'm expecting to hear from somebody. Is that right? Could I expect to hear
Marilyn,
somebody?
you will hear from somebody, definitely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mrs. Marion, can I also make a comment? First, let me express just how I feel that you should not have to be put in that position, and I'm sorry that you're embarrassed for what you've went through, because clearly this is a problem from what I can see has gathered steam over time and a failure of people to address the primary cause of this problem, which is the person feeding the cats, and the cats get larger and larger as a result. So I think that for the people that are feeding the cats, that are creating the nuisances, the stronger measures imposed to negate this problem are a smart way to go. And we will definitely get back to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And for the gentleman here, I do hope the Knoll opens quickly. My organization used to have a golf classic there, which some of you did attend every year, and we were giving $1,000 scholarships away at the high school just because of having our affair at the Knoll. So good luck, guys.
I've always supported it.
Yes, you have. Thank you. Mayor Barbario also supported us, and we appreciate that.
Anyone else wish to speak?
The other crazy cat lady, sorry. I'll do that in a minute. I just want to bounce a little bit off of
Your
what
name,
Marilyn
please,
said.
ma'am.
Kathy Malkinski, 15 Winding Way. And I just wanted to address two things. Justin, you had just mentioned to Marilyn, I want to make it clear to you all that we do not want to cause any more of a hardship to the people who are caring for these cats. Those of you that were here last, there's a lot going on over there, a lot. There's mental illness. Both are elderly. One is extremely ill. The only time he leaves the house is to go to the hospital, and he appeared in court from his hospital bed. That's terrible. And that happened because we got nothing done here. We have no interest in making them pay fines. We have no interest in causing them any more of a hardship. We want the cats removed. This is the umpteenth time that this has been said in this forum. We want the cats gone. The other thing that I wanted to address was animal control, which kind of goes hand in hand. I defended animal control for a couple of years. Heidi will tell you that she and I have had many conversations where I have thanked her for doing her job. I have said to her, Heidi, I know you're doing all that you can. She failed in not recognizing that there was a problem. The first time I talked to Heidi, there were 10 cats there. That was 2 years ago. The last time I talked to Heidi, she told me that there were over 30 cats there. Heidi, as the professional, as the paid professional, needed to recognize there's a problem. She needed to raise the white flag and say, I need help here. To go to either Mr. Carr or whomever what is her boss and say, we have a problem at 3 Laurel Drive. This cat colony is growing rapidly. I cannot catch them and neuter them as quickly as they are growing, and the homeowners are not cooperating with not feeding them. So I blame a lot on animal control at this point, because I don't think that the caregivers are of the mindset to be able to make the decision on their own, and Heidi knows it. She knows it. I've had conversations with her, and she's known for at least 2 years. So that's where I'm at. We just want the cats gone. We want to stop cleaning up poop off of my
Okay.
patio furniture and stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Hi, hi, Jeff Berry, 22 Moraine Road. Speaking tonight on behalf of the Board of Fire Commissioners, Parsippany District 1 Fire. Couple of new faces, I'll get everybody up to speed real fast. I know we're on the agenda tonight for a vote. About 9 years ago, we invited EMS to reside in our powder mill station while we kind of did an impromptu study as to the efficacy of having them reside in that corridor of the town. We found it beneficial. It was a great mutual aid for us. Fast forward a little bit later, we come up with a concept of shared services, something that the state has been beating down our throats. We actually embraced it and went for it, and we presented it to this board, asking for your cooperation with this project to put EMS and Mount Tabor District 1 volunteers in the same building. We built the building on an agreement with some of these faces here tonight, and I'll quote you, Mr. Karifi, you used the word visionary that night, and that stuck with me for the last 7 years. That's what carried me through that project, Jim as well, those words that night. We upheld our end of the bargain, and we built the building. And then fast forward, here we are now, July of 2021, fighting fires out of this building with EMS not present yet. We were promised, we were scolded, we were, whatever you want to call it, 100 different ways. We never got that agreement that we built this building on 7 years ago. I'm begging you tonight, I know it's on the agenda, please see it through on behalf of the board, the fire department, the taxpayers that approved that project, knowing that there'd be a paid EMS in that building. I don't want to go bad on my promise to them. And I'm begging you to see it through tonight. And the first person whose lives get saved because that EMS is stationed in that building, the reason that they're saved is because they're there. I invite you all to shake their hand with that person as well, because I know I will. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, if I may, you don't need to beg. I believe the rest of the council people up here agree with the same agreement that I have. This should have been done a while ago. I know the mayor, as soon as he got in, said that it would be presented right away, and that's what we're doing. So there's no need to beg. I mean, this is and I would just like to let everybody know, if the public doesn't know, that the fire commissioners have allowed us to have the EMS in that building without an actual formal agreement because of the reasons that he just said, that it's good for the town. It helps residents. We have EMS in that area of town. And I just want to thank you for allowing us to
I appreciate
to
that.
do that. And this should have been done a while ago.
Once the word got out, and we didn't spread the word, but once the word got out that there was no agreement in place, we were approached by 2 other agencies that wanted that bay, and probably maybe even more lucratively. But we said from day one, we want the home team here. This is why we did it,
And I had a conversation with the mayor, and he totally agreed, said he was going to put it on right away.
It's a little poetic. The concept was built with some of these faces. Well, tonight it gets signed with the same faces.
All right.
Congratulations.
And I'll add this, Jeff. One of the things that, again, I'm going back to my 8 years as mayor, I wanted to do was get an EMS crew up in that area. We looked at a police substation up in the Powder Mill area because it wasn't effective to come all the way from one side of town to the other. And the other thing is, not only, as you say, to save the lives, it also saves on the equipment, because those type of vehicles need to be indoors. And when we negotiated this, that was that's one of the things that we were concerned about that. And most important was to have response time. And, we had a mutual agreement when I was the mayor. I couldn't follow through because I wasn't there for those last 4 years. And I'm glad it's going to be done tonight.
Well, to that notion, one thing that people fail to realize is that when those trucks don't have a home, like they didn't for many years, they just drove.
Right.
Or they idled. The money being saved just on having the vehicle parked in a bay rather than at vets idling or just roaming around the town. And
I'll add to this that Mr. Creefy came to me Councilman Karifi came to me several times with this, and I'm glad we're gonna put it to rest tonight.
Very good, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one come forward, entertain a motion to close.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes,
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Frank?
Okay, ordinances, ordinance 2022-01, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 450-20, regulating vehicles over designated weight on certain streets. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on the first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on January 18, 2022, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at the meeting to be held on February 15, 2022 at 7 p.m. prevailing time or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction, therefore being published in an official newspaper in accordance to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
second,
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
yes,
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2022:02, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 290-4 and Chapter A 445-37, fees compilation related to Knoll Country Club utility fees. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on January 18, 2022, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on February 15, 2022, 7 p.m. prevailing time or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution, made by myself.
second,
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani.
All right, now I need some
Now
discussion.
we'll do discussion.
Yes.
A lot of misinformation out about this, so I'll attempt to clarify it. Class A members. For a local resident, $910. For a non-resident, $1,820. Now, that fee, that annual fee, entitles a Class A member to a tea time on the weekends, prime time weekends. They have 12 days in advance of the date they want to reserve a slot that they're looking for. Class B members, $665 for a resident, $1,330 for a non-resident. Class B members are not guaranteed weekend tea times. If all the slots are not filled by the A members, B members can fill those slots. They have 8 days in advance to put in their reservation. Now, the part that's controversial is town employees, volunteers, EMS, fire departments, first aid, R&R, and then they got the school board in there too. They don't have to pay that annual membership fee, but they can only play in whatever slots are left after the A's and the B's have reserved all of their times in advance. these other employees, can make a reservation 4 days before the day they want to reserve. So all the A's are done 12 days before, all the B's are done 8 days before. Everybody else to fill in whatever slots we have left is 4 days before. They don't pay membership, they're not guaranteed weekend times like the A's. And it's a thank you to all the volunteers that serve our town day and night, and to the township employees, and to the school board too. I think I only have 2 school board members that play golf. And that's it. So nobody plays golf for free, with one exception. The golf teams for Parsippany High School and Parsippany Hills High School, during the week, in the afternoon, they're allowed to play with their coaches, their golf coaches. They're allowed to play for free and have their tournaments here when it does not conflict with outings or scheduled tee times for A's and B's. That's the only exception. Everybody pays to play at the Knoll.
Mr. Council President, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So what is the genesis for waiving the initial membership fees for all of the employees and people that would be covered under this ordinance?
Do you appreciate the efforts of the first aid squads, ambulance?
We all do.
The fire department?
Well, that's...
R&R?
We're all thankful for the employees and the
Well,
residents
okay.
as well.
Then
but-
you've answered the question.
But why are they supposed to subsidize the initial membership fee for them?
They're not subsidizing anything.
Well, then somebody's paying for it.
If I could make a quick suggestion, I mean, you just brought up a point. I have absolutely no problem with allowing our volunteer firemen, EMS, giving them this benefit, but when you have paid employees, I mean, there's a difference between people that are out there fighting fires at 2 o'clock in the morning for free for us versus somebody that could be potentially making a 6-figure salary benefiting the same. Absolute EMS, fire, rescue and recovery,
I keep this.
totally agree.
Keep this in mind. Once the A's reserve all the slots that they want, once the B's reserve all the slots that they want, there still is, probably not on the weekends, unless you go look at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and later on the weekends, or during the week, in the afternoon, okay? There are open slots. Now, you have 2 choices. The slots can remain open and make no revenue, or we can thank our employees and our volunteers by allowing them to fill in those slots and collect some revenue.
Do we have any idea how many town employees actually are members of the Knoll?
38.
38?
Excuse me, if I may, you have about 38 people right now on the list in that category of not A or Bs, okay, in the town. They have to provide proof that they are a township employee by the ID card or that they're a member of the first aid squad. And as the council president said, they can only play during those periods after everybody else gets a shot.
Now,
And they do pay greens fees. I mean, they have to go through, they go down, pay the greens fees just like everybody else. They just don't pay the A and B membership, which allows them to book their, tee times 12 days in advance or 8 days. You know, they decide, let's go play golf today if there's a slot available.
So then they're also paying cart fees.
Of course.
They pay all that.
Okay.
Correct. They pay all
Thank
that. They just don't pay the membership fee at the Knoll.
Now, the membership fee for the A's, the only benefit you get from paying all that money to join is tee time on the weekend. That's it. Tee time on the weekend. And the B's pay less. They can still play if the slots open on the weekend, they can fill those slots, or they can play during the week for a lesser price. But the B's are not guaranteed a weekend tee time. and everybody else will just play whenever other slots are open, rather than leave the course empty.
So question, Mr. DePiero, if someone comes in, a town resident, they're not a member, and they want to play golf, can they just jump in and if there's an opening and play golf?
No,
Or they have to be a member,
residents.
a resident?
There's a fee schedule that you're voting on tonight, which includes them.
So a resident can come in that's not a member and play golf?
Well, usually the weekends are taken up. During the week,
Just if there's an opening, any day, a resident who's not a member, can they come in and pay to play golf? Or you have to be a member?
on, the dues-paying members have the highest priority.
I understand that.
The answer to your question is yes. And the reason for that is the Knoll was purchased in 1970 with Green Acres money. So when you have Green Acres money, there are strings attached, and one of those strings is you cannot make it exclusive.
So whether they're a town employee or not, if there's an opening, they can come and pay the fees and...
Different fee, though.
Okay.
Much different fee.
And that's in the ordinance?
It's in the fee structure, yes.
Can we get copies of that? I've never seen that.
You should have all received a copy of it.
But, you know, to clarify a point, though, to Councilman Neglia's question about residents, they would only be able to play at Knoll East, because Knoll East is open to the public, whereas Knoll West, you have to be a paying member in order to even book a tee time. So the principal concern is that members who are not residents of the town but are paying members of Knoll West are essentially subsidizing the initial membership fee for a very large amount of people. And one of the concerns that I have is that...
They're not subsidizing anybody.
But, well, let me finish. The Board of Education, would that be only the elected members of the Board of Education, or would that also encompass the teachers, the administrators, everybody that is employed in our school districts?
Only the board, the elected officials.
Now, would we also be considered township employees?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I do not think...
But there's no subsidy. They're not subsidizing.
Well, somebody is paying for it, because...
The A members pay, the B members pay for those memberships for the entitlement to play on the weekends or on their prime times.
If the Knoll West membership fee of $910 is waived for this definition of people, and they are allowed to pay, they are allowed to play, somebody is going to have to offset this loss, of which could be a very large sum of money, because we don't know the full amount of people that this window would and this definition would apply to.
The A members that are guaranteed a tee time are limited. You can send a foursome out every 8 to 10 minutes, all morning to noon, and then another round all afternoon. That's how many rounds of golf you can get in on a Saturday and a Sunday. So the number of A members is limited to, so that everybody who pays these fees for A membership can get a tee time on a weekend. No one else is entitled to that except the A members. That's what they're paying for.
Yeah, Council President, I understand where you're coming from, but given that the town is in a position of fiscal crisis, the Knoll itself leads a lot to be desired. I think our focus should be on fixing both of those, and I don't think that this is the right thing at the time to do.
I will point one more thing out to you. This is the practice that has been going on for about 5 decades. We've been doing this for 5 decades without it being in print. Our general manager at the Knoll tried to formalize it and put in print what we've been doing for the past 50 years. So it's nothing different than we've been doing for the last 50 years. It's just in print now.
I understand that, but I also understand the fact that, the perception is we're giving free memberships in a time of crisis, a financial crisis, and that does disturb me a little. I think in a time of good fiscal standing, something like this is by all means a good thing to do for those that you said. Perhaps we can look at making two other classifications, a C and a D, and put the volunteers, strictly the volunteers in one and the paid employees in another, and come up with something that's maybe a halfway point so that we can, give everyone, those that do things for us, a benefit or perk, so to speak. The volunteers who put out fires and go to all these places to help all citizens of the town, and then possibly those who are paid employees, still have to pay a fee, but maybe a minimal fee, just so we show the public that the perception is we're trying to make the town right and fix things.
Mr. Biseller is questioning the cost and financial problems that we have. Do we have any numbers as to last year's income that the Knoll has made, even without catering at the facility? It is a utility, and I think that we were doing very well. Membership is up. Do we have any numbers so that we can alleviate some of the concerns as to the Knoll not making any money?
The general manager has all those numbers.
Well, maybe Mr. Carr or Mr. Ube has some figures.
We have all those numbers, but I don't have them with me right now. And they're provided, I got the numbers today from the collections, from the tax collector. Part of what we did out there, council, is that by going to the system we have now, the A and B, and the booking with the online booking, we don't have, I could use the term, unused tea times on nice days. You miss your tea time, you've missed the opportunity.
Yes.
Out there. So
And also-
I'll make a note, we'll provide that data that the Knoll is doing very well in spite of the fact that we took a hit on the catering all last year and the year before because of COVID. And if you remember last year, even when COVID finally opened up, the governor allowed us to play golf in the midst of COVID, so it helped. It was the only game in town.
Right, and
Speaking
didn't we
euphemistically.
also have food trucks that were at the Knoll?
Minimal time at the end of
Minimal
last
time.
year, yes,
Okay.
correct.
So-
But we'll provide that data.
So the residents that were playing, or the members that were playing, or the volunteers that were playing, if they wanted a cup of coffee, a soda, a hot dog, they were able to receive those items,
Not every day, but most days.
most of the days, okay. And I don't know if I don't play golf, but I've heard from other people that the east is in fantastic shape. The groundskeepers are doing a fabulous job, and the west has never looked as good. And I believe we did make significant monies with the Knoll being open this past year.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, we did.
Even without,
did very well.
even without revenue from the caterer.
Correct.
And I can say it as a Knoll member with a lot of people who are constituents that are also Knoll members, that the state of the Knoll West has never been worse. You have had you had construction going on that didn't receive permits, that
You're
was shut down.
talking about past administration that gave authority that certain items could have been done, okay? And then the gentleman went ahead and did them. There was mold, there was quite a few problems, and he was trying to fix them. It came to a halt because, yes, there were not permits. But to say that the Knoll is in poor shape, I have to disagree with you wholeheartedly. Okay.
I encourage you to come take a trip with me there. and
I
see
have
it.
been there several times because I've been invited to be there several times. And I am familiar with the Knoll, I'm familiar with the mold that has been on that property for years,
Remediated.
and it has been remediated.
Fred, if I could ask you, I know you said there was about 38 people right now that take advantage of this. I mean, it's probably hard to determine how many more additional people with this, because this kind of broadens it a little bit, right?
No, it
This
doesn't. It
Does it?
doesn't broaden.
This is
What-
So you don't
exactly,
anticipate any more than 38 about, I mean,
That's, I
staying
didn't
with
say
that?
that. I'm saying that existing right
Right.
now in my conversations with Kevin today, there are about 38 members in this category we call
Okay.
the free ones, right now. Will there be more? Will there be less? I can't forecast that, council member. I just say that as of today, my conversation with
The
Kevin,
volunteers and
regards-
everybody are included in
we're
this?
talking about anybody who would like to participate.
No, I know that. but
There's
I'm
only
saying
38 on the
currently-
books right now.
Currently?
38
The
on the books.
volunteers are included
We
in
have
this?
38 people who have actually played, okay? They have to prove that they are a
Right.
volunteer or that they're an employee. or
this
the
ordinance
school board.
does not make it more liberal. This is exactly what we've been doing for 5 decades.
So let's go
No
back
more.
to, let's say at the end of the day, we have 100 people who
Right.
sign up. There's only 38 slots, only 38 guys are gonna play golf. You know, it doesn't bump off anybody who's an A or a B. It just says that if there's an empty tee time, an employee or a volunteer can play in that slot without having a greens, without having a membership. If the council would like to revamp this and change that, then, that would be the homework of the attorney down at that end. So,
I mean, I kind
Yahoo.
of like, like Mr. Neglia said, and I stated earlier, for volunteers, I'm all for it. I mean, they're giving up their own time to doing it for free. I mean, if there was like a fourth class, a D would be volunteers, they could play, without a membership, and then have some kind of minimal fee for somebody, I mean,
C class?
for everybody else.
Yeah. Class C?
Just something, I mean,
Everybody still pays to play. Nothing is
Yeah.
free.
but I mean, there's gotta be, if you think about it, more people playing, I don't play golf, but more people playing, I would think there's more wear and tear on the course that Matt and his people have to take care of.
There's just so many people that can be fit on a golf course. And all of these other people that we're talking about
Mhm.
can only fill a slot that's open.
Right,
No slots that don't exist.
right. But either that slot wouldn't be filled, or it would
Yes.
be filled by somebody paying potentially $900 or $665, in addition to their fees to play.
Not true.
The Class A and the Class B member would sign up for slots. The open slots would be filled by those people who do not pay membership fees but want to play golf, and the town would benefit from the revenue of those people playing at that point, utilizing the green fees. Is that correct?
Correct.
Green fees and golf court, yes,
Okay.
they pay.
But if they were not allowed to do that, then those spots would stay open and the town would not get any revenue?
Correct.
For that round, correct. It'd be a wasted round, it'd be a lost round.
Would you be able to tell us, you said there's 38 people, how many, that 38 people, if they each golf 10 times, that would be 380. Like, what kind of revenue that is? Do you have any idea? or-
I'll talk to Kevin to see how many times they actually utilized the course, if you will.
Could we possibly table this for further discussion so we
Just
get more
need to-
information? Because I'd like more
You
information.
need a formal.
Council, you just need a formal motion, council member.
Make a
If you make,
motion to table.
you need a
Motion to
motion and a
table?
second?
There I am,
Motion to
practicing
table?
law again.
Okay.
Can I get a second?
Oh, second.
Okay, so a motion to table by Mr. Musella, a seconded by
I
Mr.
said
Karifi.
Yeah, Mr. Neglia.
You can third it.
Mr. Neglia.
Mr. Neglia, a motion to table made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi.
We do need to pass this so the new fees can get adopted. If you don't pass this, we don't have new fees.
At this time, though, there's a motion, so you guys have to vote on this motion to table.
I think we
No, I would,
need to
yeah, we
understand it
just,
better.
yeah, we just say, what you could do is, this is first reading, so if you wanted to excise the public employee part, and then you could always work on that, if it was important to get the bills out, you could take out the public employees and anybody else, and then, because this is only first reading and introduction, and then if you wanted to add something later, you could do that.
That way
but
the
at least
new
let you get
fees
the
could be
bills out.
charged?
Excuse me?
That way the new fees could be charged?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, if we
Yes,
don't pass this, we don't have.
No, but
I like what he said.
Mr. Lavery.
What he
just
said.
Right, so you would take out whatever's offensive, right? You would
Okay.
leave in all the volunteers, so fire and first aid and whatever, but you take out public employees. And then you can always revisit that later, but at least it gets this passed so that you have the bulk of the.
I like that
fees.
idea.
So, I like that idea. So you have to vote down the motion to
With-
table, and then...
I can't revamp my motion?
No,
I
you have
make a
to,
motion that we,
well, first we have to vote on the motion to
Well,
table.
motion to table.
'Cause that's
He
super-
withdraw his motion?
I can withdraw my motion, can't I?
All right, you can withdraw the motion. We'll make an
Motion
exception
withdrawn.
for you, all right.
Thanks. Now,
So now
I
he
make a
wants to make that
motion,
motion.
as our attorney said.
Okay, and the motion would be to adopt this on first reading with the public employees taken out of the ordinance.
Okay. Correct.
That change, correct? And everybody else stays in, the fee stays in.
Okay.
Okay, can I get a second to that motion?
second,
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
yes,
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
And Mr. DePiero.
No.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Mike, if we could talk tomorrow
Yes.
to make this clean, because it's not that clean. Thank you.
Okay, ordinance 2022-03.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and modifying Chapter 4, Administration of Government, Section 4-81, third-party payment plan for emergency medical services provided by Park Troy EMS, Chapter A445, fees compilation, Section A445-19.1, emergency medical services of the Code of the Township. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on January 18th, 2022, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on February 15th, 2022, at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached, at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution by myself, seconded
Second.
by...
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
yes,
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
A resolution R 2022-22, approving a lease agreement with the Board of Fire Commissions, Mount Tabor Fire Department, District Number 1. Motion to approve the resolution
Second.
above by myself.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
yes,
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
resolution 2022-0.
Congratulations, guys.
Resolution 2022-023, rescinding the renewal of a pocket liquor license for 1515 License LLC. Motion to approve by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes,
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2022-024, authorizing the renewal of a pocket liquor license for 1515 License LLC. Motion to approve. Resolution made by myself.
second,
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
yes,
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Be it resolved, all items with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda by myself, seconded by...
Who seconded that?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
yes,
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of payroll and bill list. Motion to approve CFO Juan Uribe's recommendation for payment. Motion by myself.
Second.
Motion made.
You gotta read the amounts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Item two.
Authorized payment of the January 21, 2022 regular and miscellaneous payroll estimated at 1.6 million. Payment of bills from voucher list of 11522 through 11722, which is $1,092,344.92. Motion to approve the authorization for payment by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Musella. Roll call. Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
And Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Musella. Roll call. Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero? Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. DePiero. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.